Ms. Leepow has decided to do the flipped learning approach this year. And some of the benefits that she has seen is that, one, her kids are incredibly excited about this new way of learning. Two, when her kids come to class, they're actually doing what we like to call more of the heavy lifting. That means that when they watch the video at home, they come to class, they're ready to discuss, they're ready to write, speak, and think on a deeper level.
Good morning, HU.
Good morning, Miss Leepow.
So last night, we had a chance to watch a video at home for notes. What are some things that we should not do when we're watching a video? Dot.
When we're watching a video, we can't skip any parts.
We can't skip a part. We don't skip a part of the video. We make sure we're watching the whole video. What else? Somebody else tell me. Josh, what else do we do when we're watching a video?
You sit and write your notes until the video tells you to write your notes.
Don't write our notes till it tells us. But what if Ms. Leepow tells us to write our notes and then the video keeps playing? Do I keep writing? Somebody give me a KIPP hand. What do I do? What do I do? Cash, what do I do?
Pause it.
I pause the video. That is so correct. You pause the video. So when you first introduce the flipped classroom, you don't just film a video and you send it home with your scholars and say, here, watch a video, or even pull up one on BrainPop or online or YouTube and say, watch this video on what you're going to teach tomorrow. What you want to do is you want to teach your students how to watch a video, because watching TV is seen as one of the most mindless things we do. You want to teach them how to engage with the video. So the first few weeks of school, I was able to teach my lessons. However, the time that was usually spent at home, I spent in the classroom teaching them, okay, how do I watch this video? If I don't understand something, can I rewind it? Do I rewind it? Am I allowed to write as my teacher is speaking? Of course not. Can I fast forward? No. There are softwares that stop your scholars from doing that, but you want to program them in case you don't have access to those softwares to be able to understand. If my little sister's in the room, do I watch my video in that room? No, you try to find a quiet space the same way you would do homework in any other space. Am I allowed to watch TV? Do I multitask? You don't want them to multitask. You want them to see it the same way they would see as if you were teaching. So in your classroom, if you wouldn't have YouTube playing while you're teaching or a TV on, you want to program them to understand if I'm watching it at home, it's just like if I'm standing in front of you teaching. So when we took our notes last night, we took it on constructive and destructive forces. Can somebody raise a KIPP hand and tell me, what is a constructive force? What is a constructive force? We've talked about that the earth is constantly changing, but what is a constructive force? Femi, what is a constructive force? Please answer in a complete sentence.
A constructive force is something that builds up the Earth's surface.
Builds up the Earth's surface. Great job. What is a destructive force? What is a destructive force? LeVar.
Destructive force is the breaking down of rock on Earth's surface.
Breaking down of the Earth's surface. Great job. The unit is designed for earth science in the 5th grade. It's the first few weeks of earth science. We're dealing with constructive and destructive forces. So that's and how the Earth's surface is constantly changing. So that's earthquakes, volcanoes, weathering, erosion, and deposition. The goal of the unit is not for scholars just to be able to define what an earthquake is, how do science study it, what is a volcano, how does it affect our Earth's surface. It's also for them to be able to analyze things in their community, in their environment, and be able to explain whether it's weathering, erosion, or deposition. Because as we know, on Bloom's, we want scholars to be able to go beyond the recall and repeat, and be able to analyze and compare and contrast. All right, so now we are going to do a quick activity using what we know about constructive and destructive forces. We're going to apply it. So at this time, I want each person to grab, starting with the coach, and then we're going to go around the table, grab 10 Legos. Go. Throughout my class, the first job that I look for is the coach. This is the person that is in charge of making sure excellence is maintained at the table, making sure that everybody's on point and doing what they're supposed to do throughout the class. Coach's main job when class begins is to make sure everybody's writing down their homework, making sure everybody's getting their homework and assignments and completing their jobs effectively. They're also the one that fills in if somebody isn't here to make sure that jobs get done. 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me.
1, 2, all eyes on you.
All right, at this time, you're going to look at your Legos. You have 1 minute to use your Legos to demonstrate a destructive force. A destructive force or process. Go. The Lego activity is an opportunity for your scholars to apply the knowledge they received on constructive and destructive forces the night before in their video, or however you decided to do instruction, whether it be through an article, for them to apply that information using the Legos. So it gives them, also allows you to reach different types of learners. So you've reached your auditory learners and your visual learners through your video. Now you're reaching your tactile learners by allowing them to play with the Legos and either deconstruct or construct those Legos. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hands on top.
Let me stop.
Great job. All tables at a point because I saw everyone move with a sense of urgency. All right, so now we're going to have some more think time. Just a little bit more, not a lot, I promise. You are going to justify in your head, not till I say go, in your head, how your model demonstrates a constructive process or force. That's all in your head. You have destructive, thank you, Kaya, destructive process or force. Think about it. Think about it. You got 30 seconds. The quiet think time before we begin our pair share activities gives scholars an opportunity to kind of process what's going on in their head and make it more concise, because we often know as adults that we just kind of spew out information. So imagine that for a 10-year-old. So it kind of allows them to make it more concise, especially in the short amount of time we may have to talk in class. All right, 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me.
1, 2, all eyes on you.
Turn to your partner. This time, person B is going first. Person B, raise your hand. Person B, you have 30 seconds. Go.
This model shows the wearing away from the surface of the earth.
10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Oh, everybody finished before my time. All right, at this time, switch. Person A, go.
This model shows destructive process because at first it was built up, now it's broken down into smaller pieces.
Did you have time and share? Go, because I have 3.
My person B is C.
You're person C, that's why I said if you go. All right, hands on top.
Let me stop.
All right, so can somebody raise a KIPP hand and explain to me how their model demonstrated a destructive process? Can somebody raise a KIPP hand and tell me? Jariah, how?
Mine demonstrated a destructive force because it was a one whole figure and then I destroyed it.
How'd you destroy it?
I destroyed it by pulling it apart into smaller pieces.
So once again, a destructive force is the breaking down of the Earth's surface, correct? Yes. All right, at this time, when I say go, not till I say go, assistant coaches, you are going to come and get your exit ticket. Everyone else, you are going to put your Legos in the bag. The person closest to the assistant coach will put their Legos away. Does everyone understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, at this time, go. The second position I have in my class is the assistant coach. This person is in charge of making sure that people are receiving assignments and that once they finish assignments, they're turned in and they fill in for the coach if the coach isn't there. Those are usually my more responsible scholars, my scholars who on a daily basis I'm seeing homework turned in, that have personal accountability and also work well with their teammates. At this time, you will have 2 minutes to complete your writing assignment. Make sure it is in complete sentences. Begin.
As a team, the way we integrate our different content areas or teach across the curriculum is each week during our grade level meeting, each of the teachers will share what concepts they're working on throughout the week. And so when we plan our lesson plans, we actually incorporate or find a way to incorporate those skills or standards within our lesson. Our focus here at KIPP South Fulton Academy for the year is writing. So we've had numerous PDs from starting with this summer to just train us on how to actually incorporate writing within our classrooms across the curriculum.
Assign yourself once you're done. All sentences begin with. Assigning yourself, it deals with idle time. Assigning yourself is grabbing a book, not just sitting there waiting for me to say something to them. We found, studies have found that scholars that read more actually are more effective in high school, college, and beyond. So we find that if our scholars are constantly reading during their idle time rather than sitting waiting for you to respond, it allows you to also avoid, as the teacher, other distractions that could occur in your classroom or management issues. At this time, somebody raise a KIPP hand. Answer the question, what is the difference between a constructive and destructive process based on your model? Zaria.
The difference between a constructive and destructive process is that the constructive process builds up the Earth's surface and the destructive process destroys the Earth's surface.
Class, do we agree or disagree? I completely agree as well. Thank you, Zaria. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Ms. Leepow, initially when it comes to her planning, she looks at her scope and sequence, which is her long-term plan. And when the school year began, we just started having conversations about, just very informal conversations around what is it that you expect kids to walk away from 5th grade science with? What kind of content? So we started really big picture. Then we scaled back to unit plans. So within these next 3 to 6 weeks, what do you expect kids to walk away with? And she's able to articulate that information. That information then aligns to her week to week. And she typically plans her lessons a week in advance. Every Thursday, she gives it to her coach, which is me. I give her feedback on her lesson plans, things that are clear, not clear, flip lessons, things around that.
When I sit down to plan a unit, I take the time and I write out all the key points I want my scholars to walk away with. And then I also will write down all the possible misconceptions they can have in regards to the information I'm presenting to them or something I presented to them in the past that could create a misconception moving forward. And I do address those in my video and through the activities I'm facilitating. And it also allows me to address it before they even are ready to present it. All right, can somebody tell me, we've been talking about how our Earth changes constantly, and we talked about constructive and destructive forces and how a constructive force builds the surface of the Earth and a destructive force breaks down the surface of the Earth. This week we began focusing on a destructive force, weathering. Can somebody tell me what is weathering? What is weathering? Jemiah, what is weathering?
Weathering is the breaking down of rock into sediment.
Great job, Jemiah. Everybody repeat after me. Weathering is the breaking down of rock into sediment. Weathering is the breaking down of rock into sediment. And we learned about these 3 types of weathering. Can somebody give me one and the definition of it? Joel.
One of the types of weathering is biological weathering, and with biological weathering, plants break down the rock into sediment.
Yes, biological weathering is plants breaking down rock into sediment. Can somebody give me another type of weathering? What is the second type of weathering? Yes, Aaron.
Physical or mechanical weathering breaks down rock into sediment.
Be a little bit more specific, because all weathering breaks down rock into sediment, but what exactly does physical weathering do that makes it different?
It changes the physical appearance of the rock.
Yes, it changes the physical appearance, but does not change its
chemical composition.
Great job. It changes the physical appearance of the rock, but not its chemical composition. Everybody give Aaron some shine. Can somebody tell me what is the last type of weathering we learned about and what does it do? Yeah, sure.
Chemical weathering, because chemical weathering change of chemical composition.
Good job. Chemical weathering breaks down rock by changing its chemical composition. So we have chemical, we have biological, and we have physical or mechanical weathering. Can somebody give me an example of physical or mechanical weathering? Physical or mechanical weathering. Hope.
An example of physical and mechanical weathering is when you see cracks on a monument.
The cracks in our monuments, good job. If I see a monument and there's a large crack in it, that was mechanical or physical weathering. What about chemical weathering? Can somebody give me an example of chemical weathering? Jordan.
An example of chemical weathering is when the ground changes its color.
What could cause that ground to be a different color? Somebody else tell me. What could cause that ground to be a different color? Izaria.
Acid rain.
Acid rain could cause that ground to be a different color. All right. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do a group activities, which means you're working with the people at your table. Ms. Leepow, what in the world are we going to do today? Well, we are going to make a sock puppet show, not the old school, old-fashioned sock puppet show where you take your sock off your foot and you put it on your hand. No, we ain't doing all that. We are going to make it on the iPad. All right, so your sock puppet show, let's look at your criteria for success, must include the definition of physical weathering, chemical weathering, and biological weathering. You must give me at least one similarity between physical and biological weathering, one similarity between physical and chemical weathering, as well as give me one fact that makes each type of weathering different. Does everyone understand me? Yes, ma'am. In your groups, I have provided you with a weathering sheet so you can write down these answers. After you've written down these answers, you will create a script together. Then you will be allowed to get an iPad and create your puppet show. You will have 10 minutes to write your script. How many minutes will you have to answer your questions and write your script? 10 minutes. Good job. You will have another 10 minutes to create your puppet show. Does everyone understand me? Yes, ma'am. You are working as a group. I should hear everyone's voice on their puppet show because no one in here is smarter than anyone else. Does everyone understand me? Yes, ma'am. All right. At this time, assistant coaches, I need you to get one copy of the answer sheet and one copy of the script sheet for your table walk. You have 30 seconds. Let's go. Transitions are essential in your classroom. There's very few days where I've ever seen a teacher do the same thing for their whole period. But transitions can also eat up a large chunk of time. So oftentimes in my classroom during transitions, I use them as a chance for my scholars to gain points because we have a point system in my classroom, which forces them to move with a sense of urgency. Also, the first 2 weeks of school, I spent a lot of time drilling that sense of urgency into them because some scholars may not necessarily have that. So we practice over and over and over again. So, for example, in the video, you'll see a transition from them getting paper. We practice that consistently. Okay, you walk over, if somebody's there, you get in line, you wait your turn. You only get how many papers you need because small things we don't realize is that one scholar may get 6 sheets. There may not be enough when the next group of scholars get back. They have to wait, and then they have to walk back. So you create that sense of urgency and the importance of that your education, when you're walking around the room, you're wasting your education time, and that's your time.
Technology management. Wow. Wait, do we have any technology?
What is the similarity between physical and biological weathering?
We said that physical weathering is the physical appearance without changing the chemical.
Let's think about it. Does biological weathering change the physical the composition of the rock? Think about it.
Yes.
When you see a plant growing through a rock, did it change its chemical composition or did it just how?
It doesn't change the chemical composition. Yes, because it shows the physical appearance. Plants might be able.
So if it's changing the picture of it, is that its physical appearance or its chemical composition?
According to one of my teammates said, I don't think it's changing the chemical.
I'm just gonna put this out there. I'm just saying. Dang, outside outside the box. Outside the box. What do they both cause? Think about their causes. Think about what can cause them. Do they have similar causes? Things like that. I have the scholars approach our lessons in a variety of different ways throughout the unit, because I've recognized that a lot of scholars do learn very differently. Also, the goal of a flipped classroom is that I no longer am just the teacher. I'm more of a facilitator. So these activities allow me to facilitate learning. So them working in the groups, them sharing information, completing pair share activities or activities where they work independently, it allows me to go around and work with people, my scholars individually, and facilitate their learning where they need to be met, rather than forcing them to meet me where I think they should be. Hands on top. That means stop. Great. I got it immediately. All tables at a point. 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me. 1, 2, all eyes on you. Di, go ahead and have a seat. Zaria, go ahead and have a seat. At this time, technology managers, I will call you from your table. When I call your table number, come get your iPad. The second job I have is the equipment manager. This is the person who's in charge of all my materials on my table, as well as if I need them to run throughout the room to get a highlighter for someone at their table, or to run and get a clipboard, that's their job, or their lab notebooks. These are usually my scholars who need a lot of movement throughout the day. And these are scholars who may not have difficulty sitting still, but I'm channeling that energy into something positive so they feel like they have something to do. At this time, you are able to begin your puppet show. Remember, you could either use puppet pals or sock puppets. Go. So the puppet show activity gives scholars an opportunity to kind of brain dump, as well as move towards a higher levels of blooms of comparing and contrasting the 3 types of weathering, something that they are already able to define and provide examples for, but we want them to understand the differences and similarities between the 3. So it gives them an opportunity to not only just write it down, but brain dump in a more creative way.
Here you go. This is you. Okay, so we're in the middle.
Police car.
You control your blessing. So we're gonna go over here by the chain. And I'm doing chemical weathering.
And I'm gonna be like, fire.
Can you tell me what weather?
Now it's my turn to make my person. My person's gonna be bigger.
So comparing and contrasting is a great teaching strategy because it allows your scholars to move beyond the repeating the definition, but allows them to apply the information they know to real life situations, and it also allows them to be able to understand how things are the same and how things are different. And so when you're going through a unit, this gives them that opportunity to connect different topics and not understand that things aren't done in isolation throughout your unit. Look through the scenes, people are finding examples of weathering in their scenes. What examples of weathering do you see? Let me know.
I don't really see rocks.
Like, or go to the city scene. You're there. Scroll through the city.
Yeah.
There you go. I've seen a lot more student mastering concept scholars that at one point I was worried if I was doing them a disservice. I've realized that them spending more time at home with the information instead of me maybe only taking 10 minutes in the classroom or 20 minutes in the classroom to teach in front of them. I have scholars who say, okay, well, I could spend 45 minutes on it and get it till I spend for 45 minutes. I've seen some of my scholars who can barely read spend a lot of time watching my video and grasping the information that way and learning to recognize their tier 3 vocabulary through seeing it consistently on my screen and hearing me clap it out and say it over and over and over again. So it's made me realize that my scholars are able to receive the information I'm providing in their own way and in their own time.